our next speaker is Simone Syed, who's going to talk about the ABC to XYZ of crypto investing. So she founded Velorum Capital, a seed-stage Silicon Valley venture capital fund. They invest in software, data analytics, manufacture, construction, blockchain technology. But she was also previously an investor with Peter Thiel's Mithril Capital Management. She also was Chief Marketing Officer at TradeHill. You know, the big exchange, the one that was like number 2 next to Mt. Gox. I think at their launch time, so I'm quite keen to hear how crazy that must have been, how difficult. She's also the founder of Black Star Media, whose major partners included SpaceX. But outside of her work to positively impact humanity through the technology, she's an active supporter of Women in Crypto movement as well, and the global efforts of the Human Rights Foundations. Please welcome Simone Syed. That's what I want, more whooping. Woo! Welcome, please have a seat. Please, thank you.
Thank you.
So I know you've got your eye on my chocolates, but I'm going to put them over there. Just
you know me too well.
Not to distract us. So I loved your bio, and it obviously means you're very qualified to cover the topic of ABC to XYZ. But before we go into that, I just want to ask you a bit more about your role in support of women in crypto. By the way, huge praise to Crypto Finance Conference for making the effort you have to get it right. It's so hard to get it right, but I love the effort they put into it. I saw some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. So, and thank you for all the support of everybody who helped us to try to get that right. But in your view, is crypto even more male-biased than regular tech?
That is a little bit difficult for me to answer, and there's a couple reasons for that. I have been predominantly only involved in extremely male-centric industry. So in venture capital, in the types of biotech, I was in computational neuroscience, as getting my master's. And even when I started my very first company, which was a car care center, it was all men all the time. And so when I entered crypto, and even like in the beginning, in 2011, I was pretty much the only girl that I knew, besides a few cam girls back in the day. And kind of what I've been seeing is this huge proliferation of women, coming into the space and taking ownership, of wanting to like create change and value, and creating companies that actually like reflect the things that they see are missing. And so it doesn't really feel like there are women missing from crypto in general.
That's just wonderful to hear.
Yeah, but I do think that conferences can do a much better job.
Yeah.
Of propagating women, putting them on stage, asking them questions that don't have anything to do with being women. Not that.
Sorry. No, actually, the question I want to ask you is this, okay? We found lots of companies, people here found companies, they invest in companies. What action can investors, say, take to fix this?
What can investors do to help support women in crypto?
Yeah. Can they positively discriminate? Should they?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I see a lot of these nonprofits, supporting, women and minorities and things like that. And it's a little bit difficult. I have like this dichotomous relationship with the idea of, outright saying, yes, let's support all the women in crypto by creating all of these extraneous like entities to do so. Because it kind of puts women on the other side of this like weird line that we're like drawing in the sand, saying like, yes, you have to have all of this support and infrastructure instead of simply just saying like, yeah, come work with me.
Okay. I mean, that's all I'm going to ask you about that, because I've been, I take your point. How sad that I'm even thinking I need to ask you that, right?
Yeah, it's weird, but I understand it too. But the thing about crypto is I think it's really democratizing. And the fact of the matter is, you don't actually have to have an education necessarily in crypto. people self-study in such a way, like you don't have to come out of like some Stanford or Yale type of university. You don't have to have, this like pedigree that you do in like other startups in Silicon Valley. And I think that that is actually a huge boon for women and minorities.
It's actually accessible, isn't it?
Exactly.
Which is just the best thing about it. Actually, we'd like to know what each speaker's sort of crypto awakening moment was. Do you remember it?
Like when I first...
Yeah.
all of a sudden realized that there was something really awesome that was like kind of stirring. I was in Tucson, Arizona, and I was like hanging out, feeding my chickens, I think. And like NPR was playing, and I think I remember it being like one of those like radio shows. Like, I don't even know if they called them podcasts back in 2009, but somebody talked about, well, there's this like currency type thing that like reminds them of Linden dollars, except for maybe one day you'll actually be able to buy something with it called Bitcoin. And I thought it was really interesting the way that it was described, but it wasn't until 2 years later that I actually became involved in Bitcoin itself.
Was that Trade Hill?
That was Trade Hill.
I got to ask you about the Trade Hill story.
Oh
it's
my
the
God.
stuff of legends, right?
It really is. I was really, really lucky in a lot of ways. I don't know if, so George Burke, who's like attending this conference too, like tells the best story about like how he knows what Trade Hill is, because I think we were the only company of that time that did what we did. We were the second largest exchange in the world, right after Mt. Gox. I helped grow that company to $35 million in exchange value month by month, which was insane. Bitcoin was like worth $3 back then. And like none of us went to jail, none of us were indicted, none of us were sued, none of us died. Like we all came out totally unscathed, started really awesome companies, got investment dollars from like the greatest like investors, out there, and we're all doing pretty okay.
What an amazing experience to have been through. I mean, are you still interested in exchanges? Do you invest in them? Do you think about them?
I think about them quite a bit, but I don't know. Sometimes people scare you into thinking that you can't do stuff in fintech. That's like too much like the stuff that you were doing for a little while, because like there's some 7-year rule, and like I just kind of like went with it, because like we were actually at the point where we broke a lot of rules. So it was good that we shut down when we did.
Do you know, I love the candor of that. That was just awesome. There's a few other startups that could learn a lesson from that, what you just said. Examine yourself. Don't believe your own bullshit. Shut yourself down. Start again. Don't waste your investors' time and money. That's really good advice.
We gave back, I think, 85% of the money that our clients had put into our system, which was unheard of.
But you are a believer in risk, in taking risk, right?
Very much so. I mean, we wouldn't have done what we did. I wouldn't even have done what I do now if I didn't believe in risk.
I mean, you said 2016, risk begets value.
I don't know where you found that.
Oh, I mean, I dig deep. So anyway, 2016, risk begets value. And I kind of like that. Does it still apply in crypto?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a line that you can push up against, and you can, if you cross that line, you can get in trouble. But at the same time, like right now, I love investing in crypto companies that I view as security tokens. And, a lot of people invest in like utility tokens, even though there's not really great definitions, even though like we don't really know what types of parameters the SEC is ultimately going to put around some of these tokens. I think, on the one hand, it's a risky maneuver to put a lot of capital into some of these technologies, and I think that risk is a really, really good thing, because if we're not towing that line, we're never going to move forward as a society.
Well, actually, I have to say we've done quite a lot of work in Switzerland, which, of course, was where this conference originally comes from, and the Swiss government have actually done some amazing work in clearly defining the 3 types of token that you can apply for a no-action letter, if you like, go for, which is great. But as I say, there's other challenges there, such as bank accounts.
Right.
What's that like in the UK? In the US, how do you bank a crypto or Bitcoin company? What sort of unnatural act do you have to go and do and find a bank?
Literally this morning, my debit card for my company stopped working because I think I put like some Bitcoin magazine or something. Like I purchased something a few days ago that had the name Bitcoin in it.
So somebody's profiling your credit card transactions, your debit card transactions.
To this day, my debit cards and credit cards get shut down all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's tough,
still
right?
face that, yeah. So so the question, like what can you do? There's actually some really great banks that have come up recently that that seem to be able to manage, the crypto risk, and it seems to be perfectly reasonable.
So we are supposed to be looking at the ABC and then going to the XYZ, but are we in the middle bit of the alphabet now?
Not at all.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, we're like at D.
Okay.
Yeah, we're probably you guys have seen the articles too, but I really do believe we're in the 1994 of the internet revolution, and I'm actually really, it sounds sucky to say, but I'm actually really excited for the correction that we're seeing, especially today, and I expect to see more of it.
Sorry, what are you excited about?
The correction.
The correction, right?
Yeah.
Because?
Because, I think that a lot of capital came into the system where people really didn't know what they were getting into. And I think a lot of capital is going to leave the system. And I think it's perfectly reasonable because I think the type of people who are actually really want crypto to propagate, really want to actually see real technology come out of these capabilities, those are the people who are going to stay. And that's why we say, we're in 1994 of the internet, because that's basically when the Amazons of the world started and came to fruition. So
it's true that I regrettably remember the last dot-com boom and bust, so to speak, very well. But I remember the best thing about it was the net result was this amazing surfeit of talent, of people who'd been through dot-com companies and started building the e-commerce companies of the future.
Yeah.
Is the same thing happening in crypto? Is all that money just raising the tide of knowledge?
100%. We're separating the wheat from the chaff. So when it comes to investors and when it comes to companies and when it comes to good developers even. So right now, what we're going to be seeing is the people who stay are pretty much going to be the creme de la creme.
Wow. That's these guys, right?
Actually, yeah, I'm really impressed with this conference. And it was so cool, seeing Matthew Rosnick here, Tim Draper, Chris Larson. This is really awesome.
Oh, thank you, though. Huge props to the organizers. I wish I could take the credit. Simone, you are a rock star. Thank you very much for helping us today.